Joining us now is Kate Delaney, the host of the nationally syndicated show America Tonight with Kate Delaney, and the author of the book Invade the Man Cave, Sports Secrets That Guys Don't Share. So Kate, I want to start with the NBA. The season should be going on right now, but it looks like we are going to get at least a shortened season starting sometime in July. So that's a good sign for a lot of people who are missing sports. Is that essentially what it'll look like, the same NBA season, but just a little bit shorter?
Well, what it is you're going to see playoffs. So you have 22 teams that are going to play 8 games each for seeding. So it's the end of the regular season, and then there'll be a playoff, and there's no home court advantage for anyone because, as you know, Alex, it's all being played in Orlando under a bubble, so-called bubble anyway,
Yeah.
at the Disney World facilities.
And that is an interesting step. I mean, it will be a little bit different, but it's all, of course, for the name of public health, which is a good thing, not only for the players, but also fans as well, vendors, all things that these people have to take into account when they're looking at the public health scenario, but also trying to get the season up and running once again. And we're seeing, too, that the NBA is going to perhaps allow jerseys to put different slogans on it, of course, promoting social justice. It's something that the NBA has had a little bit of a different past with. They used to allow T-shirts before the game, I believe, that said "I can't breathe," stuff of that nature. But now it looks like they're going to allow different slogans to be on the back of jerseys during games. Do you think that's something that we'll see not only throughout the NBA, but possibly resonating throughout other sports as well?
Yeah, I think you're going to see that they're going to take the lead, and because that will happen, then I think other teams will do the same thing in some sort of way. Which, by the way, the NBA is saying they're not pressuring all players to do that. It's just up to you, or really the Players Association, whether you say, as you mentioned, Black Lives Matter or I can't breathe or whatever it is. So there's no pressure, but I think you'll see a lot of the players will do that.
And it is it's something that I did expect a little bit. I mean, we've seen a lot of players talk about this issue over the past couple of weeks, whether it's Chris Paul, who's a leader in that organization, LeBron James as well, who's just an icon within himself. But it's been something that a lot of the players have been talking about. We see this intersection of coronavirus. We see that some players are still dealing with some effects of that. We see that now with the latest protests. So we do see the intersection of politics and sports coming together. But the MLB is a little bit more interesting to me, too, because that is a sport that is very much so based on traditions and norms, something that they've been very hesitant to move on from over the past not only years, but decades. But now we're seeing that there are some changes coming, not only to the amount of games, but also the gameplay as well. Do you think that that is something that a lot of people will embrace?
I do, because I think there's such a hunger, Alex, for sports. People miss it. And we see that the TV ratings are sky high. And I think that's what's going to happen because none of us are going to have a front row seat actually at any of these venues. And Major League Baseball isn't stupid. Of course, they want that money, they want that revenue, and this fighting to stop between the players and themselves. But I think they have a harder task than the NBA because you're going to have travel in between cities, even if they cut it down regionally. What happens in the hotels? You're really trusting the players, and even though most of the players might do what they should, social distancing wise, or whatnot, you're all it takes is one player, and imagine the players you could infect, and I think they're going to have a big problem. We already saw that in spring training with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, and when it comes to the changes being made in the MLB too, it might come as a little bit of a pleasant surprise for some fans. They've been trying to pick up the pace of the sport for the past several
Yeah.
years, trying to get people more involved, and now we're hearing that in extra innings they start with a man on second base. I'm not sure I'm exactly on board with that, but maybe a lot of fans are. It does change the sport a little bit, but I mean, it's different times. They have to do what they can. So acknowledging that the NBA is trying to come back right now, that the MLB is trying to come back around the same time period at the end of July. Is this the beginning of sports coming back, or should we be hesitant and kind of take this step by step, just acknowledging how they do first?
I think it's step by step because as much as we might have the thirst for it, and of course they want to supply it, the owner of the Raiders said today they have a brand new stadium in Las Vegas. We're going to pack the place. It's going to be
Yeah.
great. What happens if we're still not out of the first wave? What happens if the second wave hits? Of course, that's not going to happen. I think we're optimistic. So I would say step by step. Watch what happens. Watch, to your point, your great point of how people embrace the changes with Major League Baseball. And if they can get through it without, my point, getting COVID-19, then they'll keep moving forward, I think.
Right, because it's not only the owner's decision or the league's decision in a lot of these cases, too. It's also dependent on the governments of each individual state as well as the federal government as well. I mean, if things are going backwards, a lot of these governors are going to close things down once again. They already have the different phases, if you will, that they have to abide by. So I think you're right to say that we should proceed cautiously, but nonetheless, it is a promising sign for a lot of sports fans. But Kate Delaney, I appreciate you coming on tonight, breaking down the sporting world for us. Thank you.